Hello and welcome to Bandy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your exciting cavalier hosts. Joining me as always is our other exciting and cavalier host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
Hi. I like the word choice this week because I understand what the words mean.
Nice.
Not a whole lot.
Hmm.
I was wondering, uh I read something the other day where they were like somebody was like, watching Conclave and they were like, I have to say, like, the marketing for this movie is just genius. Sorry. And then I was like, Conclave is going to start, I think, on
Yep.
the 7th of May, which this
Hmm.
will probably be out before we'll release this after that
The
time
process.
frame.
Yep.
But I just wonder, like, should we be like laying wagers on this? Do you want to gamble
Um,
on the who's going to be Pope?
I mean, why
Is that
not?
fucked
Let's do
up?
it. I mean,
Okay.
like, if people gamble on everything, like, so why not? Like, for all the
I
Frederick
mean, like,
difference, it
this
makes.
is my March Madness. I don't like basketball, but I would wager, like, I would like be like trying to like
I
dip into the
think.
Pope zones and figure out who the Cardinals are. I was reading that one of them dropped out over like issues.
Ooh, interesting.
Like they're
Ooh,
like not a
exciting.
good. Yeah. So I was like, this is kind of
I was
like
somebody was asking me about it the other day, and they're like, "Do you know much about popes?" And I'm like, "Not really." And they're like, "Well, is the Pope dead?" And I'm like, "Yes, he is. Yes."
yes,
Do you
yes.
like? I mean, I check the news if that's what you're saying, and they're like, "Well,
Right.
so," and they're like, "But the old," and they're like, "Is there something like the old Pope's still alive?" And I'm like, "As far as I know, he is. He stepped down." And they're like, "Oh, why was that?" And I'm like, "As far as I can remember." It's because, like, basically they found some stuff in his past, like that he was a member of the Nazi Party as a child, like he was in the Nazi youth or something.
Seriously?
Yeah,
I didn't know
I
that.
might be wrong. I'm near certain that's it. And I think there was other things, but like, that's why he basically stepped down, and um, they're like, wow, so you kind of do know a lot about popes, and I'm like, maybe I do. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm totally gonna like dig into the history of the papacy.
Yeah, so like you're right. I mean,
Oh
like
my
the
gosh.
only thing that's going to put me off is, oh no, he did die. He died a few years ago. Okay, the last
Okay.
pope. So yeah,
But he did okay, I have to look into that. Because I yeah, I mean, we're all human.
this is it. And then that probably wasn't the actual reason, but I know there was some controversy about like um him. So yeah, but like yeah, um, I'm sure people will correct me when I am inevitably wrong about this. Um,
It's just weird that someone was like, "Do you know a lot about popes?"
I'm
And
like,
you're
I
like,
guess,
"He died."
yeah.
This is his mother's maiden name.
Yeah. This is the town he was born in. This is the school he went to. Um, and so on. I
Uh,
so
what's up with
um
you?
right, so I have a fairly big piece of news that I have not told you about at all. Since
Mm.
this is happening live. I'm a TV star now. Thank you very much.
Are you, what's the name of it? Mr. Pickle? What is it? Pickle Burger?
Pickle
What?
Storm.
Pickle Storm.
Pickle Storm is up. My
Oh
episode is
my
up, is
God.
live.
Oh
It
my
is
God.
episode 8 of season 2. It's available on the BBC iPlayer if anybody cares to
I
watch
don't
it.
know if I can get it
I don't think you
here.
can get there.
Earth
Um,
Pickle Storm.
so
Okay. Maybe I
um,
can't. Ah, sorry.
so probably you know, if you have access to a VPN, you can probably like watch iPlayer in the US, I'd say. But like if you want to see me in it and my friends, obviously my sister's in it and a few of my other friends, it is our sequence is about 6 minutes in, then about 9 minutes in, then about 12 minutes in, roughly. I think
I'm
that's
so
right.
excited. Pickle Storm.
So yeah, so that was quite fun. And it's quite funny because like I let's say my sister and other friends are mortified that it's out there and they don't want to watch it. And I'm like, who cares, guys? Let's
It's
come
so
on.
exciting. If I find a link on YouTube, I'll link everybody to
Do
it so
please
they can
do.
watch. But the kids, like, I was like, you guys, like Andy's in a kids' TV show. And they were
Yep.
like, when is it coming out? And then Charlie was like, is Andy coming to my birthday party? And I was like, I don't think
Charlie, I
so,
wish.
buddy. He's like, where does he live? And I was like,
Yeah.
Ireland. And he's like, oh. how
Yeah.
far away is that? And I'm like, it's all the way across the ocean, honey. It's
Yeah.
all the way across the Atlantic. So probably not going
Would
to come to your piñata party.
would
Sorry.
that I could. Would that I
I
could.
know, I know, I know. Never say
Um,
never.
exactly. Never say never. Who knows? A lot of things can happen between now and then. Um,
Yes. Pickle
so
storm.
pickle storm. So like, so there you go. So like, and as I've been
So
saying, people have been like,
excited.
we want your autograph, and I've been saying, if you want my
Yes.
autograph, you need to go through my agent.
Hmm.
There's I will not be taking direct requests. It's going to be at least £10 for an autograph, £30 for a signed photo, etc., etc.
Right.
So reach out to Bandy Podcast if you want some sort of autograph. It's going to be worth a lot of money in the
That's
future.
it. Yes, yes. Don't invest in crypto.
Yeah,
Invest in our autographs.
invest in like a fat stack of Andy Young autographs.
Hmm.
Yeah, and seriously though, if anybody does want to buy those off me, I will happily sell you autographs for
Yeah.
as many as you want. 10 or a touch. Um, the other thing that's happening with me is I'm officially going to Canada. It's happening.
What part of Canada?
So gonna be spend some time, well, flying into Toronto, then almost immediately over to Calgary.
Mhm.
Then spending about a week in the Rockies, roughly, and then back over to Toronto and having about 4 or 5 days there.
So fun.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for it. I have not
I've
really been.
never been on that side of
Uh-huh.
Canada. I've only been to like Vancouver and Victoria, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm
So I'm curious to hear what it's like.
I'm really excited for it. Like I'm really excited for Calgary and the Rockies in particular. I'll get a few days in Calgary as well, but like I'm really excited to see Toronto as well. Here's a great city, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's we talking about in a previous episode. I find it's a really very good thing for my head going away.
Yes.
Holidays. Like I'm very
Yes.
privileged that I can't do them, but like I'm very much looking forward for the kind of reset that comes with it for me.
Hmm. I'm looking forward to that for you too.
Thank you. Um,
Yeah.
do you? I think we blaze past this. Do you have any? What's a crack that we haven't touched on?
I booked tickets to fly to Oregon in August.
Ooh. How
So
do
I
you
have
feel
not
about
been
that?
back. I feel good.
Okay.
I feel good. Um, it's been like I've had this like mental block. Not
Yep.
mental block. I don't know. It's just like I associate it with like being sick and like rainy and like
Sure.
stuck in COVID and da da da, stuck in the house. And so it'll be like nice time of year. Mike's got a high school reunion that we get to go to, so I get to see all the high school friends,
Nice.
my nibblings, and
Sorry,
family and all
what?
of that. Nibbling?
Nibbling?
Yeah, it's like the nicer way of saying, okay, well, not to get into pronouns, but not everyone wants to be a niece or a nephew.
Ooh.
So you can say nibbling. And then it's
I
kind of like,
I like that.
thank you. And it's cuter than niece or nephew. And it like it's all encompassing, you know? Because
I love
like,
it. Okay, I've not heard of it before. It's great. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hmm hmm there you go. There's the down at the pronoun
Yeah.
update. Uh so yeah, I feel good about it. I feel good
Great.
about it. We got 11 days that we're gonna be there and it's like I haven't seen a lot of people in it'll be 4 years. So
I was gonna say it's been since you moved that you've been up there. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Cool. I love it.
gonna do it.
I like it. I love to hear it. Okay, great.
Doing things
Awesome.
that are scary
We
to
got
me
to.
that would not necessarily be for other people, but I am who I am.
Yep. I love it. I love it. It's great. Um, fantastic. Do you have any other uh
No, I'd
crack?
like to dive into our topic.
Okay, you know what's current either then? No.
No. Do you
Let's
have any more
go.
crack?
No, more topic time. Let's
Topic.
blaze into the
Okay.
topic. Okay, so
Boom.
boom. Because you know what? Explosions are cool. So
That's
like
right.
this is like, in case anybody's like, well, what the hell are they friggin' talking about this time? We, have a shared love of like action movies. I think,
Mhm.
any human being with a pulse loves a good action movie, right? As far as I'm concerned. So we thought it would be a fun one to talk about the ones that have meaning for us, how we think about them, what we think, what we would kind of qualify as an action movie and so on.
Okay, so definition.
Okay.
The action film is a film genre that predominantly features chase sequences,
Hmm.
fights, shootouts, explosions,
Hmm.
woo, and stunt work. Yay. The specifics of what constitutes an action film has been in scholarly debate since 1980s, apparently.
Okay.
So while some scholars, such as David Bordwell, don't know if I'm pronouncing that right,
Okay.
suggested that they were films that favor spectacle to storytelling, others, such as Jeff King, stated that they allow the scenes of spectacle to be attuned to storytelling. Action films are often hybrid with other genres, mixing various forms such as comedies, fiction, and horror. So
So what you're telling me is that we're scholars now.
we
That's the
are,
yeah.
yes, yes.
I
Well,
knew it.
you're
I
the
can knew it.
gentleman and I'm the scholar.
Okay, I'll take it. I will take it.
So yeah, so we're having this is a heavily debated topic.
So interesting that it is, because I
Hmm.
was trying to think of what,
You're like thinking and you're like, does that count? Does this movie
yes,
count? Yeah,
because like
totally.
I was wondering whether like Jaws would have been the first sort of, I mean, it's the first blockbuster, but whether it's the first
Hmm.
action movie, and like I don't think it is. I mean, and I started thinking back to a little bit more like, even though it's a film that I've never seen, and it's a film that apparently everybody has seen, like The Great Escape, for example, is that an action
Yeah,
movie?
yeah. Well, and then it's like the James Cagney like mob movies, from like the I don't know the my
Yeah,
time frames there, but like those were action and
yeah.
adventure and like yeah, The Great Escape.
Are westerns action movies? Sometimes, I
Yeah,
guess.
like so all the spaghetti westerns
Yeah.
too. Yeah. I was like, you know, ooh, that's a good one. Like historical ones, do those count? Like Tombstone,
Well,
right?
I think those things can exist outside of the action genre, right? Because there are definitely moodier, sort of like more, character-based ones, which I don't think I would describe as action films necessarily, but I think action films can probably exist within that genre.
Hmm. Sorry, this is totally off topic, but you know what I saw the other day?
Uh-huh.
Kevin, I don't know if this is true. Like AI is messing with with me. Because like it's like this movie's being made, and you're like, what? And it's like clickbait, and it's like, just
Sure.
kidding, you know. It was like Moana starring like Zendaya or whatever, and I was like, exciting, and then it was like, no, it's just like
Okay.
someone's dream. So I'm pretty sure that Kevin Bacon is coming back and making a Tremors miniseries.
Oh, interesting.
I
Okay.
know. Of all the news, that's that's what I was most excited about. So
I
like, does that
feel
count as an so like also I think we can include TV shows.
yes, that makes sense. That makes a ton of sense.
Am
Um,
I right or am I wrong? Look in your mind
no,
garden.
I'm not seeing any.
Shit.
No, you. Okay, there's definitely chatter about it, but like, who knows?
Okay, good.
And like,
Okay.
honestly, it would not surprise me because like we are living in a time when it's just like, shit. What old IPs do we have that we can dig up and because like,
Hmm.
even some of them seem to go like catastrophically wrong. Whenever they go right, there is a fortune of money to be
So right.
made. So
Oh
like,
yeah. Well, it's like, yeah. Uh, we were watching, sorry, like off topic, but on topic. We were watching TV the other night, like something came up for like Andor,
yes,
like another Star Wars
yep.
offshoot. And Mike's like, how many fucking more Star Wars things? I'm like, I can't keep up with it at this point.
It's like it's legitimately good. And I mean, I kind of
Okay.
hate it because it is kind of like, because like so much of Star Wars is very much targeted for the family and quite kiddie friendly. Like it's quite dopey,
Hmm.
but like Andor is like quite well written and grown up. And like I was really kind of skeptical of that because I was like, oh, how good is this going to be? And the first season was surprisingly entertaining. So I am cautiously optimistic about
Okay.
season two as well, but
Okay.
we will
Okay.
see.
Okay. So sorry, back to our topic. I guess I would say on this debate, like, an action movie can be both character based
Yeah.
and not. And I think that's cool. So
Yes.
sorry, David and Jeff with a G.
Yeah, David and Jeff. You so-called scholars.
Right? Um,
What do you know?
I
Uh-huh.
know. So what's your favorite action movie ever?
Oh my God. I wasn't prepared for this. Probably Aliens, I think.
Okay. Okay. It's
Like
on my that's on my list.
I fucking love Predator as well. Like, and I do like
Yeah.
a kind of creature feature. You know, I like my sci-fi sort of stuff. So like
Hmm.
it had to be something sci-fi. Like I also really love Terminator 2.
That's
Um,
that was so I was like, that's always the one that comes to my brain the first. And then I was like, hunting and doing all my extensive research and a lot of the I'm like, top 10, top 20, top, and it's like Terminator 2 comes up as number one.
yep,
So I think that's like when you think of the quintessential like action movie, it's probably starring Arnold Schwarzenegger
yep,
and it's probably a blockbuster and it probably made millions and millions of dollars.
yep.
And, odds are James Cameron is somewhere in there too.
This is so true. He is very strongly connected with Aja. Like, you know, it was interesting. I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were like, you know, I watched Titanic for the first time in years recently, and they said it was incredible, it's so good. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's James Cameron. The guy's
Yeah. And I
undeniable.
remember watching it like and being like disappointed and some of
Uh-huh,
the,
uh-huh.
like the dialogue, but like I watched it with the kids because I was like, let's show you some disaster,
Yeah.
give you something to cry about. And it
Yeah,
was like, oh, this is actually really good.
it
No.
is. It
Yeah.
is. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I mean, I'm not crazy about the Abyss. I still like it a lot, but
Oh, I
like,
love The
you know,
Abyss. Yeah.
yeah, this is the thing. And I
Yeah.
totally respect I do like it. It's just not one of one of my guys, you know, but like it's I really think he's such an incredible filmmaker. You know, I think he could
Hmm.
make any subject kind of interesting. And I get the criticisms of Avatar movies, but like I think they're both of them are really fantastic, to be honest with you,
Hmm.
you know.
It's like for me, a good action movie is one where I'm like, I could watch that at least once a year
Yes.
and be like, and notice new things. And, like I watched, Jurassic Park is like an action. I think it's an action movie.
I think so. I think that's fair to say. Yep.
And we watch that at least once a year, the original, not all of
I
the other ones.
I, I have been thinking about that again recently. It's been so long since I've watched it, and I really need to
It's
because
so fucking good.
yeah, it's such an incredible movie.
It's so
Uh,
good. So I have some Terminator 2 facts.
uh-huh.
Uh, so Robert Patrick, who plays a cyborg, I guess he undertook like a running regime and
Okay.
practiced like breathing through his nose only to appear more like a cyborg that could run at like high speeds without
Amazing.
showing any sort of fatigue. And he trained so hard that he was able to catch up with Edward Furlong on his dirt bike. Like as a kid, if you're like riding my dirt bike and like you're being chased by Robert Patrick and he
Terrifying.
catches up to you, it's terrifying. Um, there was a concern as to how realistic the CGI would be. Like there's a scene where there's a helicopter that goes underneath
Yep.
the overpass in the LA River. And they were like, how are we going to do this? And they were just like, oh, we'll just have a pilot fly it. So there's no CGI there, which I love movies that have very like little CGI. I mean, I get it, it's necessary for the cyborg
Yes.
and like all of the morphing.
And
But
it's probably one of these things that like nobody should be doing that, but like James Cameron sounds
yeah,
like the sort of guy who will convince somebody to do it, or like
yes,
I know the guy who's just crazy enough to do it stunt like this, you know, that sort of thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So another one, and you probably already know this, but Linda Hamilton,
Uh-huh.
who plays Sarah Connor, she's an identical twin.
Oh yes.
So
Hmm.
at the end, when she's like her other, the cyborg like turns into her, and she's like,
Yep.
it's her sister. And there
Interesting.
are other parts in the movie where people are mirroring, like the cyborg is mirroring. He just literally I hired people that were
Hard
twins.
twins. Yeah, the guy, the
Yes,
security guard and
yes.
stuff like
So
that. Yeah,
it
yeah,
so it
yeah.
looked completely real because it was, which I appreciate. Um,
Yeah.
And
Um,
then, yeah, those
so
are the
no,
cool facts.
I don't think I asked you what your favorite was, or would you have a favorite?
I would say I made a list.
Okay.
It's a toss-up for me between Terminator 2 and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I was thinking the indie films are like so freaking good.
Yeah.
They're just an
Yeah.
absolute masterpieces, especially Raiders. Like I also have such a soft spot for Last Crusade, but like
Hmm.
Cheese Raiders, they're both such like Raiders of the Lost Ark's just
It's a
magical, pure
masterpiece.
magic. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Um, so I would say probably Raiders. Like rewatched it, I don't know, like a month ago, and I was like, God, this is so fucking good.
Do you
It's so
know?
good.
So did you know that um Steven Spielberg
And
always wanted to direct James Bond and was could never convince them because they didn't want an American director doing it basically. And this was what he did instead was like, and it's like, wow, why? Like, let's do our own sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, I mean, just smashing it out of the park, like, absolutely incredible.
I have a trivia fact for you that
Okay.
is like bang on to what you just said. So, yeah, George Lucas, I guess like he'll go when his movies are coming out, he goes away on vacation. So he doesn't have to like think about it or like stress about it. So when Star Wars uh A New Hope came out, he was on vacation in Hawaii with Steven Spielberg. Um, and when all of the like Star Wars blew up and they were like, okay, this is a good thing. It's gonna be a hit. Like Lucas totally relaxed, and then he could like focus on, talking about what other things they could do. So Spielberg was like, I want to do a James Bond movie, and Lucas was like, I have a better idea. How about an adventure movie called Raiders of the Lost Ark based on the book? And I'm gonna read this verbatim. The conversation happened while the two were making a sandcastle.
Amazing.
After the trip, they got together and wrote the script. So I just love that, like something that we all enjoy and is like so much a part of like who we are, you know, was birthed from the two of them on a like on a beach making a sandcastle.
So amazing.
I know.
Um, I,
I'm not that good with my vacation time. I'm like,
it,
I'm not that
it,
creative.
No, this is true. I mean, they were such like sort of like they were the kind of the new wave, weren't they? That they were the kind of
Hmm.
and like Lucas, I feel like for his latter stuff gets a lot of shit.
He
But if
does.
you think about the stuff that he like the ideas that he had when he was beginning, like Indy and Star Wars alone should put
Yes.
anybody into the stratosphere of film
Yes.
history, you know? Um, and like I know he worked on other stuff. I think he did Willow and stuff as well, which I think is a pretty
Hmm.
incredible movie too.
Oh,
And
so good.
you
Mad
know,
Mardigan, like,
yeah, oh, amazing. So
raise
like,
one for Val Kilmer, man.
yeah, this it's I
Hmm.
listened to a nice podcast episode about him recently, and like he seemed like a true eccentric, but also like a pretty wonderful guy to people who treated him with respect, and it was like,
Yes.
yes, it was pretty rad. Um,
Okay.
yes.
So, controversial question.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that there's a point at which like action movies stopped being like good?
Oof.
Right? Because like when you think of like good action movies, like I can't really think of anything 2015 to now where I'm like, this movie, right? Like all the ones that I have are like Raiders, Speed, Point Break,
Yeah,
the
that's a good
the
point.
expendable movies. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
I get the star quality of it, but
I feel like, I mean, obviously what has happened in that time frame is that superhero movies have taken over all of that
that's true.
real
That's
estate.
true. Good
Like,
point,
so
Andy
like,
Young.
thank you very much. As a student of film.
Scholarly to
Yeah,
me.
so, yeah. But like and I think there are some good action movies in there. There are, I think there genuinely are. But like, I think it's, I think you see these things happen. You've seen these things happen throughout the history of film where like certain genres have really, taken on like extra importance, they've become really magnified. So I feel like that's replaced so much of the space that those things took up. But like, so I think I'm really kind of trying to rack. I'm gonna have a look because I was the first thing that sprang to mind, like one of my favorite kind of action movies, and I guess it's a arts movie, is a movie called
Mhm.
The Raid,
I haven't
and
seen that.
it's sensational. Like I saw it again in the cinema. About this was the one I told you about, that there was a live martial arts demonstration beforehand.
That's right.
Um, but like it's so lean. It's about 90 minutes long, and it's a very little exposition. Like even the story of what it is, there is not much there. But it's just like one incredible set piece after another. It's brutal. Like it's like a hard 18 for violence. Like there's no messing around. But it's absolutely incredible. Like it's like seeing it in a cinema. I hadn't seen it in years, and I saw it in the cinema when it first came out, and like seeing people's reactions. Clearly, some people had like brought friends along as like, you've got to see this movie, and people going, oh, this is just like, oh,
Wow.
this rocks so much. Um, so yeah, but it was 2011, so that movie
Yeah.
is 14 years old. Oh my
Yeah, I
God.
know. That's what I'm saying. So I think you're right. Like the superhero movies have taken the place of like your not generic, but like your standard blockbuster
Yep.
film. But I think a lot of it, it's like a lot of things are being recycled too. It's like Blade Runner. Okay. Like,
It's
yeah.
true. Like, yeah, I kind of don't
And they're
mind that
making, the
movie.
other nothing against the other Indiana Jones movies, but I feel like the first three are like definitely the best.
Yes, I think you're right. Oh, 100%. There's a real nosedive after that. I feel like there's fun stuff in the other two, but they're both pretty terrible. I'm looking through stuff, and I'm looking, just to see what I'm not thinking about here. And monster movies have always been a big deal, like Kong, and
Hmm.
it's mostly franchise stuff. So it's been like that. It's also been Fast and Furious, obviously, is a big one,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I think that's a film that went through. That's a series that went through a renaissance, and they were great for a while, but they've kind of like fallen off a wee bit. I also think the Mission Impossible movies do incredible action for the
They
most
do.
part.
They do.
They've went through ebbs and flows as well, but there's a lot of great stuff in there. Um, but yeah, it's just like trying to think of like standalone, cool new ideas. It's hard to think of anything in recent years. Oh, John Wick. Those are
Oh,
good movies.
I have not watched those.
And they're not all good, but the first one rocks. It's friggin' amazing. And then like I feel like the second and third are good, but not great. And then the fourth I loved as well. So like
Okay.
they're definitely worth just because like the storyline of the first one is very relatable in that I think his girlfriend dies, and then these bad guys kill his dog, and he's just unnerved.
Uh-huh. Well,
Right?
yes,
Right? We understand that.
as you would be. Absolutely.
You blow
It's
these
like that's
blow
when I
these
walk
mothers
out of
away.
the fucking movie theater. Um,
Yeah.
so also like there are like quintessential action stars like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Keanu
Yes.
Reeves, obviously like we're his fangirls.
Yes.
Um, but I heard that they're making Constantine is like one of my favorite movies,
Uh-huh.
and they're making Constantine too. And he's like, that's probably like one of my favorite role. That's probably my favorite role I've ever played.
Interesting.
And so yeah, so they're gonna do another one, and I'm like, it better please be good. Not it better be good. I would really love it if it was really a good,
That's another thing
yeah.
that's been happening a lot recently, where it's like films that are like, I mean, how old's that movie? Is it at least 20 years?
Oh
Possibly
yeah, I
closer
think
to
so.
30, maybe? God, it's probably going to upset me when
So
I say how old that film is.
okay, hold on.
Um,
2005.
2005. Okay, geez, it is 20 years. Oh my Lord. So like another one, and it's one that came out this week over in this country, is The Accountant 2. Um,
Yes.
and I'm like, who
Did you
is
like
asked?
Accountant One? I
I have never
know.
seen it. I'm like,
It's like, I mean, we watched it, but it wasn't like, sorry, I've been obsessed with making a crow friend.
Yes.
I have one that's living in my pool now,
Ooh,
and
okay.
he's like using the pool water to like eat his food.
I like it.
I know, and he's like he's out there. He just washed a snail shell with a snail in it and then got it out and he's like pulling it apart. He totally wants
Nice.
to cuddle and be my best friend. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
Um, okay, sorry, what were you just saying?
I was just saying, I was talking about the accountant too, and how like
Mhm, mhm.
I just was like, who's
What
asking
is
for this movie?
what is
I don't
that?
understand
What
it.
is I know. I think it was like a sleeper of a hit.
But
Like
was it
it
okay?
came out and people were like, this is good. And it got a lot of like views. And so they decided to make another one. And it's a good cat. I guess like I Ben Affleck now has his own production company
Uh-huh.
with Damon. Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? I mean, like, I'm all for it. Like, who gives a shit, really? Like, if you can
Hmm.
make something and make money out of it, you enjoy yourself.
Hmm. So, I talk about the studio a lot because it's
Yeah.
like it really dives into like what it's like to, be a green lighter, be a producer
Mhm.
and um, you know, the slings and arrows that come from that. So like testing a movie is a big deal, making sure the audiences like it. And if they don't, you got to change things. And they go into like what that is like and what it looks like and what the meanings are like. And I don't know how they got Ron Howard to like say some of the worst words I've ever heard on television, but they did. It's so fucking funny. So the movie
Okay.
Speed, also with Keanu
Ooh,
Reeves.
okay. Hmm.
So they were doing a test, like it's that's probably one of I haven't watched it in a while, but like I think back and I'm like so good. I guess most of my movies are Keanu Reeves movies.
I mean,
Maybe yeah,
Beth,
right.
this is why you need to see the John Wick movies. You need to
I
watch
know.
them.
What the fuck have I been doing with
Yeah,
myself?
truly. Because he's
So
looking hot as
yes.
hell in those movies as well. Anyway, go on.
Well, it's like the Matrix. Like
Yep.
he's not only is he like an action star, he's like a human hero. But
True.
so I guess that so it's a 20th Century Fox movie. They realized that they had a hit on their hands because when they were doing the test screenings, like people were walking backwards to go to the bathroom
I
so that
love
they
it.
wouldn't miss anything that was happening on the screen. And I was like,
So good.
yes, right? Those are the things I like to know.
That's always a good sign. Yeah, love it. Um,
Um,
but yeah, it's so something else I wanted to touch on as well, and this might be a good time to do it, is that
yeah.
idea of, and they talk, and I know there's a lot of kind of like talk about this and kind of film analysis, the idea of big name stars like your Arnold
Mm,
Schwarzeneggers, like your
mhm.
Stallones back in the day, like Mel Gibson, so on and so forth.
He's
Geez,
on
some
my list
interesting
too.
pulls there. But
Yeah.
like, and you just don't really have that anymore. It's more about the IPs, it's more about the
Mhm,
franchises than it is about
mhm. The
the big kind of
individual.
name draws. Yeah.
I would agree with that.
And I
I
suppose
would agree with that.
I suppose
It's
it is.
almost like the directors are more important than the actors, and everyone's like,
Yeah,
"Oh my God, Christopher Nolan's movie." It's like that's the draw,
that's a good point.
not that, you know, it's not the cast, it's the director.
It's true. That's
Like
so
James
true.
Cameron's making another Avatar. Like which is cool
It is.
because the work that they make is exceptional, you
It's true.
know?
It's true. And I think
I'm
that like
excited about Odysseus
yes,
or
as
the
am
Odyssey.
I. There's like another Odyssey-based movie that came out just last year that has
I
just been
noticed that
drowned
band.
because there's a
Yes.
Christopher Nolan one coming out. It's like, oh, you
And
poor
they're like,
bastards.
this is them filming. Look, it's Matt Damon. And
Yeah.
yeah,
He's ripped as
he's
hell. It's like,
ripped.
okay,
Yeah. Uh,
I'm in. You say no more. Um, yeah, but it's I think like I'm guessing the whole sort of move away from star-driven stuff versus IP driven stuff is that they have more control over that. Like stars are harder to like control, I guess. Whereas the IP is essentially just they can do whatever the hell they want with it, if
What
they
does
own it.
IP mean? I don't know
And
what that means.
intellectual property. So say for
Oh,
example,
gotcha.
owning
Like Disney has Star Wars.
yes, exactly, exactly.
Got
They have the IP for
gotcha.
Star Wars, which is they own all this shit, basically.
Hmm.
Um
And Marvel owns Marvel.
no, Disney also owns Marvel.
Seriously?
Uh-huh.
Ah,
They bought them around the time the first Avengers movie came out because they were like,
okay.
there's money being made here, and they worked out nicely for them.
Someone made a good.
Somebody made a good
Yeah,
choice.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, but and I suppose there has been a move away from the real kind of excess and gore that maybe defined some of the movies back in the 80s. Maybe not so much into the 90s, you know what I mean? They kind of like calmed down a wee bit. Um, I guess there's probably fears of, uh, um, what kind of blood and gore would affect people. I think
Yeah.
probably not that much. I mean, horror movies are still a massive thing. You're still seeing a lot of that shit there. But like,
Yeah, I remember like, well, not to like be Debbie Downer, but the Columbine shootings.
yeah,
I remember because the kids listened, sorry, the crow was here. The kids
I,
listened to Marilyn Manson and were dressed like
oh
Keanu
yeah,
Reeves in The Matrix, right? That was like, and there was so many guns. Like watching The Matrix, I was like, there are a lot of guns, right? And
it's
like
true.
that's how we beat the you know the supercomputer that can morph into anything, like more
Get some
guns,
guns. It's
really?
true. That's true.
Yeah.
But I think like there's been there's so much. They talk about that, those things are easy scapegoats for, probably the very
Yes.
complex root causes of why these things happen, it's
Bad
like,
parenting.
yeah,
Kidding.
yes, yeah, yeah,
But kind of.
exactly. They need, yeah. And so like whereas, there have been other things like heavy metal and
Mhm.
music and like Dungeons and Dragons and things like that have been
Totally.
bugbears for many years. And I think like, so like action movies, video games is another kind of, I mean, like I was gonna say a modern one, but like video games being tarred and feathered for that sort of thing has been going on for
Yeah.
like 30 years now, at
Yes.
least.
Yes.
Grand Theft Auto gets a lot of kind of flack for that. And like,
Yeah.
I think there's catharsis in some of this stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't watch a martial arts movie and go, right, I'm gonna start like head kicking people. I'm just kind of like, I like the adrenaline rush to that. I think it delivers for me what some people get out of horror movies, that I like. And we talked about it before. Like, I don't mind a horror movie, but it's not something I seek out.
I love a horror movie.
Yeah.
Love, love. Like I love jump scares. What was I watching the other day? Oh, Heretic
Oh yeah.
with Hugh Grant.
Yeah. How'd you
And
find it?
I didn't finish it because Mike
Okay.
was like, got up and like went off, toddled off to do something else, and that I didn't want to watch the rest by myself.
Sure.
So I read what happens at the end, and like I love me some Hugh Grant, you
Sure.
know?
I
So
I think the first two-thirds of that film are the best parts anyway. I think that
okay.
whenever it descends into the last bit, it's interesting, but it's not. I think the whole sort of like, did you see the kind of debates he's having with them about religion and things? Like,
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
like, I think there's some fun stuff in there, and like, it's like I don't think it's my fear as much as like I don't really care about religion necessarily, but like my fear was that it was going to be a religion is bad, but it wasn't really. It was a more complex discussion about what it means and what it is to the world. And I thought that was great. And I think that like any film like that is inevitably going to devolve down into something a bit more messy and kind of genre-y in terms of
How
like,
exactly?
so how do you end something like that? But I still think there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Hmm.
Uh,
Um, I was also yeah, I guess like there are horror action movies, like Aliens
yep.
is a horror action movie. That's like Mike's favorite movie of all time ever.
Hell
Like
yeah,
all
good man.
genres. I know, right? I can't remember if I showed it to you. He's got his like door handle, like Aliens present or something from like
Amazing.
the original. Yeah. And I was like, he still has
It,
his MTV jacket. So man,
oh,
keeps
amazing.
everything. I know. I had a
One of the
factor
things just
effect.
before I get to talk about aliens,
Yes.
like I mean, what it's so iconic. I mean, you think about like the conversation the other day, thinking about like the idea of creatures jumping on your faces that have happened in loads of
Yes.
different properties now, and like
Yes.
how that was like, I mean, like, as far as I know, at least anyway, that was an entirely new idea by them, and then it just becomes this thing, this concept, and it's like, and
Yeah.
that's just one small part of that movie that's just becomes
Yeah.
defines entertainment, it's crazy.
I liked that an artist, Geiger, right? Who's the
Yeah.
artist that created the alien and the shit, like all of the visuals for that, that
Hmm.
that concept, I don't know which came first, the script or Geiger, really?
That's a good question.
Or did did they ask him to make it?
I'm pretty certain he had done sketches that were already leaning in that direction, but then I
Yeah.
think he narrowed it down to more what the alien actually looked like. But yeah, I think a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but that's a good
Okay.
question.
Okay. But yeah, the visuals of that, that's James Cameron, right?
Yes.
So, and I, um, it's like a compliment when there's like Alien versus Predator and Alien and Aliens and, like this whole franchise, I guess IP now, maybe.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it's a compliment to the original, right? If they make
Yes.
more. And I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad, you know. Um,
Yeah.
I make fun of nostalgia all the time, but like I'm totally that person that's like, yay! They're bringing back Harrison Ford and
Yeah.
right. Han Solo's back and he died.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I, I, I can't be cynical about those things, and I really want them to be good, and like see if, and
Hmm.
I think there are good versions of these things that happen, but I think that overwhelmingly they
Hmm.
tend to be bad, sadly, and they tend to be like
Yeah.
fairly cynical cash-ins, and I'm just like, ugh,
Yeah.
this is disappointing. Um,
Yeah. So the original Aliens, um, was it Alien or
Alien,
Aliens?
yeah,
Which
the
came
first one's
first?
Alien. Alien
First
came
one's
first, then
Alien
Aliens, yeah.
and then Aliens, but Aliens is always the one that people are like, this is the best one. That's the one that with the little girl
Yes, I think Alien
and
is more seen as a horror film, and
hmm
people
and then
love it, and,
Aliens is
and rightly
action.
so. It's a great movie, but they're very different kinds of movies.
Yes. So I guess for Aliens, like they don't shoot movies in sequence anymore.
Yes.
But James Cameron, there's the very beginning where you meet all of the colonial Marines and there's like all this banter and you can tell that they all like know each other really well. He decided to film those scenes last because like all those people had been working together for
That's
like
a nice
months.
idea.
And I like that is the stuff I think that like it's like what is the magic formula, right?
Yep,
Good director, good cast, good script, but also I think it's like the director really thinking things through and being like, this is what I want this scene to really feel like.
absolutely.
And I think, to James Cameron's credit, like giving now he has, he's lofted himself into another stratosphere where he can make all the decisions he wants or like
Right.
that. Like building the Titanic or half the Titanic or
Yeah,
whatever
or
to
yeah,
film in.
building a sub to go down there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but it's like that's part of the magic formula, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think, I kind of respect those sorts of people. Like I would guess that probably working with some of these guys would be an absolute fucking nightmare. And I'm told that James Cameron,
Yes,
I,
is
I'm
hard
told
to work with.
he's improved, but like he was an
Yes.
absolute fucking horror show to work with, like back in the day.
Michael Bay, yeah, is another one where people are just like, ugh, so hard
Yeah.
to work with. And like,
But
his stuff isn't bad.
no, he's got some fun movies, but they're like really kind of dumb, but they're also a lot of fun. Like I
Yes,
love.
yes.
Oh, why have I forgotten the name of the one? The one on.
The day after
Oh
tomorrow, tomorrow.
no, no, no. Hold on. Okay, fill for me while
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he like Michael Bay kind of does the bigger like well, okay,
he
no,
did the
he did Bad
Transformers
Boys.
movies. He did
He
do
did
Bad
the
Boys, which
Transformers, he did
rocks.
The Rock, he did Armageddon.
He did. He did. Yep.
So I guess he oh, okay, yeah. Oh, he remade
The
the Texas
Rock.
Chainsaw
Yeah.
Massacre, Amityville Horror.
The Rock is exactly what I was searching for there because I friggin' love that movie. Love that movie so much.
Yeah, it's like Jerry Bruckheimer is another good
hmm
one.
hmm Oh yes.
This-
Well, he was the big. He was like super
Yeah,
producer, wasn't he? That did like.
did was also okay. Hmm.
Yes, he was indeed. And there will be people who will be like, "Hey, no," he's shouting us
Yeah,
again.
right.
Yes, he was a producer. He was not the director. Bruckheimer, like he has done so many
Mhm.
uber budgeted movies. Like he's behind the scenes
And
on many
for a
many
lot of
things.
those, there's like a formula, right? Where it's like a cast of, 20 people and
Yep,
they all have their like own storyline and then they all come together at the end and someone
yep,
makes a powerful speech and then they beat the bad guys. Um,
love it.
so I like the ones that are like, Jaws, Jurassic Park,
Yes.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's like there's a different formula.
So like creature featurey type ones,
Hmm.
and I mean also like you know when you're talking about those ones in particular, you're in the hands of the master. Like the friggin' action master there. Nobody makes films like Spielberg.
No.
Um, yeah, I mean, like, I think, and you're so right. Whenever I think about them, it is like a handful of directors that really kind of like stuck the landing in that regard.
Mhm.
Um, something else that occurred to me and I had written it down here was Die Hard,
Ooh,
which is
definitely on the list.
John McTiernan, the John McTiernan who also did Predator and stuff like that as well. Like he is all way up there for me too. Yes, he did do Predator. Yeah, I thought I was going insane there, but like, there's a handful of people who made these like god tier action movies for me. The ones that I will always think about. And they're directors that I think I will continue to go back to. In the future, if they're still making films.
Sorry, everybody, we're having technical.
Maybe cut this bit. Oh man, really? Hello, hello. You're back.
Hi,
Hi,
yeah,
hi, hi,
I
hi, hi.
I like didn't talk, so you can edit it out.
Okay, okay.
Do you want to
Okay, note of that.
thank you. Okay,
So what were you saying?
back to Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wrote down the worst ones
Mm-hmm.
where I was like, like it's on the list, but I don't really like it. Independence Day. I think it's Jerry Bruckheimer.
Ooh,
You
no,
know,
he didn't direct it. That's Roland
is probably
Emmerich and
producer.
Dean Devlin or whatever. But yes,
Yeah, not,
I,
it's like I just can't.
I,
I'll
I,
watch it, but it's not my favorite. Like I feel
I
like they
get
could
it.
have done better.
Like those films are cheesy as hell. Like I mean, but I understand why you don't like that film. I do quite. I've got a soft spot for it, but like just the kind of sheer insanity of like Will Smith having like a battle with an alien spaceship, making it crash land, and then coming up
Yes.
and whenever it comes out of punching it in the face and saying "Welcome to
Yes.
Earth."
Welcome to Earth.
It
Yeah.
rocks
And
so
I
hard.
had a missed memory. I messed up my memory of that. I thought he said welcome to Earth, bitch,
Oh
but he
yeah, I
doesn't.
wish
He
he
just says
did.
welcome to Earth and then punches it in the face. Yeah.
So good.
So I guess that's my favorite part of the movie.
And I totally get it. And I can totally, it's not one that I'd be super precious about, but I have fondness for. And I think that those
Mm,
those directors made a lot of like they made a lot of like disaster movies, and a lot of them are trash, but like I have fondness for that for sure.
yeah. So I also like you mentioned like martial arts. And I
Yes.
do like martial arts action movies.
Yeah, me too.
So like the IP Man ones
Yes, they're great.
are so good and based on an actual human, which is always fun.
Um, the ones in recent years, there's like there's a I think I'm gonna say recent years. This one's probably 30 years old as well. There's a movie called On Back that I loved, like a Thai martial art film, The Raid, which I talked about. I think is
I'm gonna
just
watch that.
it's so freaking good. Like it's just wall to wall action. I say it's brutal, but it's like there's nothing else like it. Just a great soundtrack and stuff as well. It's just so incredible. Um. And like I only get to see a handful of like martial arts movies, but like a good one really kind of like sticks with me in a way that other things don't.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. And um, I don't like I would count James Bond movies as being action.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
I think that there are good ones in there, but I think by and large they're not for me at all.
Like Mike will sit down, like he's got all of the James Bond movies. And
Oh,
like
really?
anytime, yeah, he loves them. And I
Um,
don't know if it's because the guy, like he lived in Jamaica and the guy like wrote the books in Jamaica
but yeah.
and there's that tie. Was it Ian Fleming? No. Yes. No. Broccoli. What's his name? It
Oh,
doesn't matter.
no, Ian Fleming was the guy who wrote them.
Okay.
Broccoli, the family that owned the film rights and controlled them for many years.
That's what it is. Okay. And then I think Amazon just bought it. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean, like I, yeah, they never really worked for me, and it's one of those ones where it's like, as then obviously they've modernized him, but you kind of look back at James Bond's behavior and you're kind of like, bro,
Yeah.
like you need to like hose yourself down and just like stay away from women for a while, please, in the name of
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Um,
Unless you're Sean Connery.
well, yeah,
Eh.
God, that
Can't
guy
fault
was
that guy if you're being
well,
a disgusting human.
he
Um,
has he has
so
yeah, top of
yeah.
the charts.
So do you have like your comfort action movies where you're like, oh, I'm feeling like blank?
The indie movies like really saw me through last Christmas, rewatching them. Just really, I found them really helpful. I used to rewatch them. I mean, like obviously they're not that old, but like some of them are now. But like some of the Marvel movies really work well for me now. But I really struggle to like sit through a movie at home these days, so it's not happening quite as much. But like they were definitely important to me. I think like the Star Wars movies, obviously, if you count them as action movies, I think there's a fair bit of action
Totally.
in them.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's on my list.
and I think like Terminator movies, certainly the first two, and Predator would be other ones I would go back to again and again.
Hmm. Yeah, I think for me, yeah, I think I get attached to directors. So I would say like Spielberg,
Yep.
Lucas, Cameron, like those
Yeah.
like them. And
I
then
think it's a,
whatever they produce, it always feels good
I
and
think,
looks good and sounds good.
I mean, like, I 100%, I think that's happened to me. Like, I've always been, I was like one of these kids who's reading film magazines, as a teenager, and, that was something I was obsessed with. So like it has definitely become more important to me. Like I definitely have always kind of been interested in directors, but like I think I would have taken at certain points would have been like sniffy
Ooh,
about Spielberg.
George Miller.
George Miller, yes, I freaking yes. I think both of the I mean I say recent, but Fury Road and I thought Furiosa were both fantastic.
Mhm.
Um yes, he's another he's like visually nobody else is like him at all. Nobody else even comes close. But yes, so like I think that I would have been like sniffy about like more populist directors back,
Sniffy.
like, oh, excuse me, no, no, thank you. I'll be watching my art house cinema over here. Thank you very much. But then like as time went on, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm like, I enjoy like I popcorn flick like something dumb and
Yeah.
entertaining as much. Like I still don't get me wrong, I love like sort of like other art housey stuff and like more indie stuff. But like I think there's a place for both these things. I love them so much. But like very much so like I'm thrilled like. Spielberg has a sci-fi movie in the works currently, and I'm like, I cannot wait to see what that is. So, very excited for him.
What?
Right,
Are you
exactly.
serious?
Yep, that's his next movie. I don't know what it's a new idea. I don't know much more about it than that, but I just know he's working on a sci-fi thing, and I'm like, yes. So yeah,
I love him so much. Okay,
yeah.
upcoming, he's got 21. Executive producer, but we want director. They're making Cape Fear into a TV
Oh
series.
God, of course they are.
Huh.
So like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've got any other.
Gremlins 3.
Oh God, let's not go down.
I know.
Let's not go down that terrifying path. Do you have any other thoughts on action movies just before we start to head to the
You
end
know,
of our.
they totally um I think on soundtrack, I think that soundtrack is a
Mhm,
of park soundtrack, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think the music makes a difference
mhm,
in
mhm.
movies, and so like soundtracks matter. Um, and it's like, yeah, when you think of Star Wars, like you can do the Raiders or the da 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 da. It's like you can't have Star Wars without that. You can't have Raiders
Right.
without the soundtrack. Same thing with, you know, all of the Jurassic movies. So I do think that the music and soundtracks make a difference and are
Very,
part of the equation. So
very much so. Very much. They're huge. I completely agree. Like they really make all the difference. They really do. Love it. Okay. Shall we move into our final wee section of the episode, Beth? Just ask you
yes.
what has been bringing you joy this week.
Can you go first?
Sure. So I have something that's kind of connected to this. I mean, it's a comic book
Okay.
series I've been reading. It's called Firepower, and the I just love the concept of it. I finally finished the series. It finished maybe a year or so ago, and I got the second collection recently. Essentially about this martial artist who's trying to find out about his family, who his parents died, he was adopted, and he goes around the world teaching, learning from all these masters, and they tell him to go to this temple. And he goes to this temple, and at this temple, they practice a very kind of high level martial art, but they're seeking this thing called the fire power, where they want to be able to launch fireballs from their fists, essentially. And he becomes the first person to unearth this power in like 100 years. And then it's kind of what happens after that. And it's so much fun. It's like there's not tons of martial arts comics, certainly Western wise. So it's such and it's like one of my favorite artists doing the artwork, and it's just like such a lovely combination of that kind of silly kung fu stuff
Hmm.
with art that I love, with a writer that I really like, and it was just such a nice kind of world to spend time with. I also really love a problem with a lot of comics is that they are run forever. Spider-Man will never die,
Yeah, right,
and
right.
like so the stakes are really low. So like when a comic has a beginning and an end and they have it in mind, it's always kind of lovely seeing that story through to the end. So it
Mhm.
was great kind of reading through that. Yeah, Firepower. It's great.
Awesome. Firepower.
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 Firepower. What
I
about you?
like
Did you
it.
find one?
I'm reading a book. I read The Rural Diaries by Hilary Burton Morgan. She's married to
Okay.
Dean Mor or um
Jeffrey D.
what's his
Morgan?
name? Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Yeah,
Yep.
it's his wife. They've got like they call it a Mischief Farm up in upstate New York.
Okay.
Like Paul Rudd is one of their best friends.
Okay.
They're like good human beings. They saved like the town candy store with Paul Rudd, and like the owner died and they like
Okay.
took it over and kept it going for the whole town. So she wrote another book called Grimmery Girl,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all about like making your own like anthology and traditions and magical thinking for your family.
I like it. That's a nice idea.
And so I'm kind of doing that. Like, what traditions do we have? What like things do I want to make sure that the kids like are able to carry on through their lives and the lives of their kids. And it's that kind of concept of like, what magic do we have within our lives and what magic can we create? Um, so it's a little witchy, I'm not gonna lie. There's like spells and stuff that she, like how to find water using sticks and all that kind of like old folklore kind of stuff, which I really, really dig. Um, so I'm really enjoying it. I also really love, she writes a lot about like their relationship as husband and wife and like what
Mhm.
kind of person he is. And he's like, they're just like an interesting couple and they just like, you know,
That sounds lovely, yeah.
yeah, it's a good read. I like her. She's a good human, so.
And yeah, nothing wrong with being a bit witchy as well. Sometimes
No.
we all need a
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
of that, I
yeah, yeah.
think.
I
So yeah.
think you guys like you lovely Northern Irish people, like you celebrate these things, whereas
Yeah.
here it's kind of like, everyone thinks you're like a pagan or a Satanist,
No,
so
there are plenty of people like that here too. Do you know what I mean? It's
okay.
just like, but weirdos like you and me don't mind
Yeah.
that stuff so much, you
No,
know.
no, no, no. It's fascinating.
It is. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. In that case, Beth, could you tell everybody where they can find us, please?
You can find us at bendypodcast.com.
Love it. All
Tell
right.
us what movies you love.
Yes,
I'm
please do.
curious.
Actually, yeah, yeah.
What
Especially
ones do we
action movies.
forget?
Yeah,
You're
what
like,
ones
this
we forget?
movie.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll let us know.
Like, I
Uh,
love Michael Bay.
I
All
know.
right,
Okay.
sorry.
That's quite all right. All right, folks. In that case, as always, we'd like to remind you to stay
Stay bendy.
nice. We should have done an explosion at the end. Maybe I'll
I
put one
know.
in afterwards.
Boom. There you
Yes,
go.
I won't.
You're
All
not
right.
gonna do that.
No. All right, bye. Love you.
I love you. Bye.